Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our community worship with the UU Congregation of Charlottesville. I'm Debbie Norton, and I'm happy to be serving as your worship weaver today. Each of us in the sanctuary of our homes are joining in this shared Zoom sanctuary. Our building, the physical sanctuary on Rugby Road, was built in 1950. For centuries before us, this land had been the dwelling of the Monacan people. Later, this land was part of plantations, which enslaved African Americans for labor and profit. We honor all those who dwelt here before and all those whose lives led to this moment of our gathering as a community of memory and hope. And we honor our church treasurer, Kay Frazier, who's here to welcome you.
Good morning. I have the privilege of serving as your treasurer and on the board of trustees. I came to our congregation 4.5 years ago. It feels like a lot longer because I've made so many friends and connected with so many in the community. I came searching for a spiritual home, and I found that, but I also found so much more. And that is with the friendship and the community that I found in our congregation. It keeps me coming back. And it's that togetherness, that possibility of togetherness that really makes me look forward to our church year. It may be in small groups. It may be in a park. It may be volunteering in a group. It may be participating in a listening circle to help us determine our goals for our developmental ministry. And so I invite you to a listening circle at 1 o'clock this afternoon to do just that. This is an important work for our congregation. I hope you can join us. The link is on our website, and perhaps someone can also put that link in the chat. So welcome, and I love all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kay. Once again, we're so grateful to Sean Scally for handling all of our AV needs today, along with Kelly Dryden, and to Ellie Ransom for the beautiful work on our videos. As Kay said, everyone is invited to join a Zoom conversation with members of our Board of Trustees who want to hear your thoughts about developmental needs of our congregation as we prepare to search for a new minister for next year. This session will be at 1 p.m. today. And everyone is invited, especially those newer to our congregation, to join Reverend Linda and membership leaders for a Zoom session at 4 p.m. today, an intro to UUism and a chance to get to know each other. And we still have room in our forming covenant groups for more participants. Go to the webpage and sign up today. Let us center now on these words from Maya Angelou's On the Pulse of Morning. Lift up your eyes upon this day breaking for you. Give birth again to the dream. Women, children, men. Take it into the palms of your hands, mold it into the shape of your most private need. Sculpt it into the image of your most public self. Lift up your hearts. Each new hour holds new chances for a new beginning. Here on the pulse of this fine day, you may have the courage to look up and out. Here on the pulse of this new day, you may have the grace to look up and out and say simply, with hope, good morning.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of living, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come.
We are the Chapman family.
I'm Carrie.
I'm Georgia.
I'm Ruthie.
I'm Talmadge.
And my husband Scott and their dad is out of town at the moment. We moved here a year ago from Utah, and so not only are we new to the area, but we're also new to the UU faith. What we love about this community is the acceptance and commitment to making the world a better place for all.
And we love the playground.
We love the playground.
We do. We light this chalice this morning, the symbol of our UU faith. There we go. We gather this hour as people of faith with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, and celebration of the life we share together. We light this chalice to celebrate Unitarian Universalism. This is a church of open minds. This is a church of helping hands. This is a church of loving hearts. The congregation's chalice has been lit and will have its own screen throughout the service. If you have a chalice at home, please light it now.
Sunshine, my only sun.
the grave. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Let me tell you about Farmer Chin. Farmer Chin had a pretty typical life. He had his acres and his harvest to tend to. He had his animals and his family to help with the tasks. He also had neighbors who would sometimes visit and bring dumplings and their opinions. One day, Farmer Chin's strongest, most beautiful horse ran away, and the neighbors came immediately to express their sorrow for Farmer Chin having lost one of his most valuable possessions. And they asked him if he wasn't just sad as he could be about that change of fortune. After all, losing value is a horrible thing to experience. Farmer Chin's response was, maybe yes, maybe no. The following day, that horse returned with 10 other wild horses, equally beautiful, equally strong, adding to Farmer Chin's stables. And the neighbors came running, celebrating, saying how wonderful it was that he now had all of these additional horses. Farmer Chin's response was, maybe yes, maybe no. The next day, his oldest child, who was to be the heir to the farm, the child who showed the most interest in inheriting this land and this responsibility, was taming the horses, or trying to, and their leg was broken in the process. And the neighbors came running once again to lament this change of fortune, saying how disappointed Farmer Chin must be that his child would now grow up, possibly with a limp for the rest of their lives. Isn't that just a sorrowful, sad state of affairs? Farmer Chin said, maybe yes, maybe no. A week later, an announcement went throughout the kingdom that war was at hand, and that the young, strong, able-bodied children would be conscripted into the army and into the service of the kingdom. But Farmer Chin's child wasn't able to go because their leg had just been broken. And the neighbors came running with the dumplings and the opinions, saying how wonderful it was. What a relief it must be to Farmer Chin that his child would not have to go and fight in the war. And Farmer Chin responded, I bet you can guess. Maybe yes, maybe no. This story reminds us that we always have the choice to remain open, to embrace all the possibilities in a situation when we might be tempted to immediately assume that something is a tragedy or even a great boon, that we might take a second, reevaluate the situation, and see how it unfolds. And you know, that story inspired me to write this song. The journey isn't over. The race is far from run. The story isn't written. The game has just begun. Each day is a new day. Every day is a new day. Who knows what comes next? If misery befalls you, let the misery take hold. When tragedy calls you, you can let the thing unfold. Each day is a new day. Every day is a new day. Who knows what comes next? This might be the best day you ever had. The truth is, no day is really good or bad. Might be the path that you've chosen. Might be the last one you would. Things might be getting so crazy. You would laugh if you could. Slide on through it with grace. Open your heart and embrace whatever comes next. Slide into it with grace. Open your heart and embrace whatever comes next. Whatever comes next.
Amen.
Thank you, Scott, for that wonderful music. Generosity is part of any spiritual practice, and we take time each week in worship to name the importance of supporting this spiritual community and its work. We also feature a community agency to support through our monthly social action collection. This month, we invite you to consider giving to support the work of our interfaith organizing initiative, Impact. Impact is a multi-faith coalition of more than 30 local congregations organizing to empower citizens to create significant change through direct action. Impact gets into good trouble in a very smart way. We use evidence-based research to identify causes of injustice and suffering, and then we plan effective and achievable actions that will make a direct difference for those most affected. Our congregation was one of the founding members of Impact some 15 years ago. The work of our many members involved with Impact over the years have helped build strong relationships across racial, ethnic, socioeconomic, and religious lines. If you would like to support the work of Impact, which is focusing this year on housing, childcare, and climate change, you can go online to give through our website or text an amount or send a check to UUCville with Impact in the memo line. And of course, we invite you to support the ministries of our congregation as well. Some of you have pledged and have automatic deductions made each week. We honor that. Some of you make your pledge annually. We honor that. For those of you who like to give weekly online, this is your opportunity to do so. To make a donation to UUCville, you can text your donation amount to 434-277-2266 or go to the giving page of our website. You can also use the donation page of your Breeze account. Finally, you can send a check made out to UUCville to our main office. There are so many ways that we give and receive gifts in this community. Our board and staff are dedicated to stewarding all of our gifts well with mission and vision. Together, we build the future of our congregation and our larger community. I am thankful we are all on this journey together. I'm thankful for our abundance. And now let us dedicate all of the many gifts by saying, together, we accept your gifts with gratitude. May we use them wisely for the highest good.
Scott, thank you so much. Scott recorded that Bach prelude for us specially so we could hear the various different voices. And earlier in the service, that musical prayer that he offered, he was improvising live. How blessed we are to have his talents. Thank you, Scott. I'm Reverend Linda, and I am honored to be serving this congregation as your interim lead minister for a second and final year. Here's a question for you to think about. What time is it on the clock of the world? What time is it on the clock of the world? That was a question that Grace Lee Boggs used to ask everyone she met. She asked it over and over for years. watching people's growth as they answered her question over and over and got deeper and deeper into understanding. Grace Lee Boggs was a child born of Chinese immigrant parents in 1915. She was a philosopher, an author, a social activist, a feminist, and much more. She and her Black labor activist husband, James Boggs, founded and ran the National Organization for an American Revolution. And she kept her intellect and passion and curiosity alive for whole 100 years of life on Earth. I was reading about Grace Lee Boggs' question in a book that was written by Adrienne Maree Brown. She gives thanks to Boggs in her book, in Brown's book, Emergent Strategy. Brown met Grace Lee Boggs in her last decade of life. And in those 10 years, the young African-American activist, doula, a feminist, found Boggs, the elder Chinese American, to be an important mentor to her. Brown writes that one of the answers that she ended up working towards to answer the question, what time is it in the clock of the world, was this: it's time to close the gap between vision and practice. Brown says that developing her philosophy, which she ended up calling Emergent Strategy, has become her answer to that provocative question that her elder mentor posed to her. She writes, one of the biggest lessons I learned from Grace in the years I spent with her is that conversation is a crucial way to explore what we believe and to make new understandings and ideas possible. Conversation. Now, Adrienne Maree Brown is a prolific writer and podcaster. She's a doula, a Black feminist, whose work has been inspiring so many folks throughout our society and quite a few Unitarian Universalists recently. She, this month, wrote a reflective blog, B-L-O-G, blog, that I find offers me some needed wisdom. She wrote, for some of us, September 11th awakened an expansive and humble empathy. An empathy on September 11th that could have transformed our nation. The aftermath, however, fully unveiled the culture of supremacy and death that is as US American as any aspirational culture of democracy or liberation. Brown writes, in the tenderness of my memories of that day, I long for a collective shift into reality. We are just humans who need to find a way to empathize, to feel compassion, to grieve and generate love, and to tether ourselves back to this abundant planet. Another thing Adrienne Maree Brown does besides write and blog and work for activism, she also has a podcast where she invites people to come on and share conversation with her. She calls it How to Survive the End of the World. And in these conversations, she wants to learn, as she says, from the apocalypse, to learn from the apocalypse with grace and rigor and curiosity. Apocalypse. Apocalypse. I know what I've always thought of that word. I always thought it sort of meant the end of the world. And I've been having a feeling we might be getting close to the apocalypse. How about you? Have you been feeling that? I mean, climate change is intensifying and magnifying all the evils and ills in our world. The poor and the marginalized are now starving and migrating in thousands and thousands just to find a way to survive. And many white folks, fearful of losing their entitled place in society, are resorting to hatred and crazy conspiracies and guns and power grabs to cling to their survival. It feels like the apocalypse, the end of the world. But wait, on another show, I listen to a lot of podcasts and radio shows, a significant African-American woman thinker spoke of the apocalypse on an NPR show that Krista Tippett hosts. That's On Being. I hope you all listen to that before you come to church on Sunday mornings. On Being. This young African-American woman thinker is Reverend Jen Bailey, and she reminded us on one of the episodes that the biblical word apocalypse doesn't mean, as so many of us have thrown it around culturally, a cataclysm or disaster or an ending. The more accurate translation of the word apocalypse is an uncovering. Apocalypse, uncovering. The organization that Jen Bailey founded and leads, Faith Matters Network, has stepped in across the societal ruptures that have been uncovered in our time to help us explore what is being uncovered and what possibilities are being revealed in these times. So I quote from all these women, Krista Tippett and Grace Lee Boggs and Adrienne Maree Brown and Jen Bailey. I quote from all of them because they are practicing and encouraging the vital importance of engaging in conversation to understand what's going on and to maybe change the nature of how we respond. They practice intentional conversations across boundaries of age and race, experience, conversations that explore memories and ponder big questions. These intentional conversations don't ignore the apocalypse we're facing, but they seek to see what is being uncovered by it all. The truth that has always been there, the truth that we can discover in the natural world, the truth of what has been underlying underneath all of our imaginations of who we are and what we believe in. Now, some of the work is revolutionary and fairly challenging, but many people are approaching it because it offers hope and it offers compassion and it offers communication. A lot of the people that now I have been most inspired by are the writers and the thinkers and the artists in our times who come from communities that historically have been on the margins of our society. People of color, refugees from other nations, queer folks, poor folks. These are people who can offer insight and inspiration to someone like me who can be pretty flummoxed these days. People like me who find the craziness of the world unraveling around me, a world that I thought I understood and I was comfortable with because I have the comfort of a privilege of race and education and financial stability. And so people like me, we're unused to dealing with catastrophe. It's like a unique, unreal, unusual thing that gets headlines in the news. We don't understand that, in fact, catastrophe, apocalypse has been unfolding all these many years. It's in the world of nature. It's in the world of human society. An important influential contribution to this conversation about facing the apocalypse honestly and truthfully and with compassion is summarized in a book that Adrienne Maree Brown has been using as her launching pad for teaching and spreading the good word. It's a book called Emergent Strategy. Now, obviously, in a few moments of the sermon, I can't explain it all, and this is not a book report. She has so many ideas that she's assembled into a whole. But the principles of her philosophy of emergent strategy are these. And she draws the parallels between everything that's happening in human relations with the reality in the natural world. And so everything of these principles that I'm going to name, she spends a lot of time showing how this exists in the way cells work, in the way plants work, in the way geology works. First principle, small is good and small is all. The large is just simply a reflection of the small, repeated over and over again. Second, change is constant, and that means be like water. 3, there is always enough time for the right work. 4, no matter where you find yourself or who you find yourself with, there is always a conversation in that room that only those people with you can have at that time. So find that conversation. Reminds me of the Stephen Stills song from Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young. If you can't be with the one you love, love the one you're with. If you can't be with that perfect community that you wish existed somewhere, focus on the people that you are with and discover the conversation that only you assembled can have. 5th point is never a failure, always a lesson. Never a failure, always a lesson. 6, and I love this one. I'm going to be thinking about this one a lot. Trust the people. If you trust the people, they become trustworthy. And 7, move at the speed of trust. So focus on critical connections more than critical mass. So you build resilience by building relationships of trust, one relationship at a time, and move forward at that speed. 8, less prep, more presence. This is challenging for some of us. Less preparation and more presence. And the 9th principle, what you pay attention to is what will grow. What you pay attention to grows. It's a lot to take in. She imagines these core principles will probably change for herself as she talks to more people and more people give her feedback as she believes in the conversation developing her ideas. But she is finding these principles helpful for right now. And she does see them reflected in the natural world as much as in human relationships. As I said, each principle is worthy of, I would say, about a year of study. But I wanted to just talk about one of them right now because I think it's important for you, the members and friends of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Charlottesville. And that's the principle, the counsel on focusing on building relationships so that you may build resilience. Brown writes, when the response to mistakes or failures or misunderstandings is emotional, psychological, economic, physical punishments, we breed a culture of fear, secrecy, and isolation. Let me say that again. When your response to a mistake or a failure or a misunderstanding is emotional or psychological or economic or physical punishments, we will breed a culture of fear, secrecy, and isolation. So she asks us, how can we shift from individual anger towards viable, sustainable, systemic change? She suggests this, that we begin by asking why when someone messes up or lies or hurts or betrays. Instead of immediately rushing to take sides or blaming or shaming, she suggests we just ask why. Why did that happen? Why is that going on? And she says often just that why question can be the game-changing possibility opening question.
Brown says, I think this is some of the hardest work. It's not about pack hunting an external enemy. It's about deep shifts in our own ways of being. UUCville, like all congregations, you have the wonderful capacity to connect and support and listen to each other to discover your ways forward. I hope many of you will talk with the board about what that might look like for you as this congregation moves forward into your shared future. And UUCville beloveds, I know, Linda knows, from the experiences of many congregations and from the stories I've been told of your history, you also have the capacity to complain rather than ask why, to insist on being heard rather than asking yourself what you can learn, and to demand on your own righteousness rather than asking how you can help. That is human. And it is something each of us has the capacity to transform in ourselves. Brown writes, if we want to create a world in which conflict and trauma aren't the center of our collective existence, we have to practice something new, ask different questions, access again our curiosity about each other. What time is it on the clock of the world? What time is it on the clock of our congregation? What time is it on the clock of your own individual life? It is time to discover what is emergent in this moment of apocalypse with the people around you. And is it time to discover what is emergent in this moment of apocalypse with the people around you and in the place you find yourself? Is it time to discover resilience and possibility and the flow of the moving waters of change so that you can stop the struggle and join the excitement of life unfolding, uncovering? What time is it for you? Those are the questions, not is this bad or is it good? Our story today had the farmer responding to each event with maybe yes, maybe no. The real questions are, what is emerging? What is being uncovered in this apocalypse? And how can we respond to the tough times by asking the questions, by building relationships, and by learning? May our emergence bring us all blessings. Amen.
Though days be dark with storms and burdens I see that destination clear. Those troubles may wait me at every turn, but I know, yes I know I can go on. So brother, come and take my hand, and sisters, help me sing my song, for I know hope awaits me at every turn, and I know, yes I know we will go on.
Yes, we will go on. Thank you, everyone, and return often so that your cup can be refilled. Have a beautiful day.